I'm speaking to my agility peeps out there. Have you ever been to a trial and you got an NQ or an E and you weren't sure why? You got the refusal, your dog dropped the bar, your dog took the wrong course. And I always want to know why my dog did that too. So I always review my videos, take videos of every run that you do, especially at a trial, and analyze it to figure out what did I do wrong, because it's almost always our fault, and what should I do to fix this if this comes up again next time. So join me here for a video analysis of a recent trial that I went to where we had a boo-boo, and stay through to the end because I'm going to show you how I start training that particular skill that we messed up on at the trial, how we're going to train that at home. All right, here we go. Hey guys, Heather here. I thought I would just take you all along with me on how I review my videos from agility competitions. But before we get into the actual video, I want to share the map with you and talk about how I even prep before I actually run the course at the trial. So this is the biathlon agility course from the UKI Invitational that was in Chicago about a month ago. And we ran this course with an elimination, meaning we did not qualify. So I thought that would be a good one to share. And I also have two views of it because Four-Legged Flicks was there videoing everything, but a friend also took a video from a different angle. So I thought it was pretty cool to have two different views of me running the same course to analyze. And that's why I chose this one in particular. So let's look at the map first. And after we chat about the map together here, I'm going to suggest that maybe you pause the video and kind of study the map yourself so that you know where I will be going on the course when you watch the video. And then also think about what would you be doing with your own dog? Like what would you be doing with handling maneuvers and where? So the first thing when I get a map that I do is I memorize the numbers because that's step one. You can't know where you're going if you don't know where the numbers are. So I really try to memorize from the map. And if the course is already set up, I will be standing ringside looking at the course because you have 8 minutes to walk the course without your dog and memorize everything, not just the where you're going, but where your dog's path is and what handling maneuvers you're going to use where. So you want to maximize that 8 minutes and not spend it being like, where's number 7? You know, and someone else is like, oh, 7's over here. You don't want to be asking those questions while you're out there walking. You want to know exactly where you're going. So that's step one, memorizing the numbers of the correct order of the obstacles, I should say. The second thing that you're going to think about is the dog's path. Before you think about handling maneuvers or anything else, think about what is the most efficient and safe path for your dog. So we're going to think about this just for a couple obstacles here together. And I'm going to use this little fun tool I found. So let's talk about 1 through 2. So your dog is going to be taking the jump here from right to left. So you have to think, should my dog take jump number 1 and turn right, or should they turn left? And it's pretty obvious probably to everyone, the dog should turn right. So we're going to turn right. And then same thing for number 3. If the dog turns right on this jump, they're going to be way out here, kind of no man's land. And if they did come around this way, it's like an ugly entrance onto the A-frame. So I'm sure most people would agree. You want the dog's path to be turning on their left on number 3 so that they have a nice approach to the A-frame. Right? So that's what we're thinking about. So we'll just kind of continue to draw the dog's path. And I am terrible with this mouse, so don't expect nice smooth lines. 7, 8, good. Backside of 9. This is basically the dog's path. They're going to loop this way. You want them to turn that way on 11, of course. They take the dog walk. You want them to slice 13 because that makes a nice line to this tunnel. And then when they come out of the tunnel, they're going into the weave poles. They come out of the weave poles. And I can't draw a straight line. I hope your dog doesn't go this exact line, but they're going to wrap that way. Obviously, you can imagine you wouldn't want to send your dog to this left side of 18, right? This course is actually pretty easy, I think, to figure out the dog's line. And out you go. So that's the first thing you would think about. This is the path that I want my dog to take. So once you've figured out your dog's path, that's when you are going to figure out what handling maneuvers I need. Another thing that's going to help you figure out what handling maneuvers you're going to do where is when the dog is changing direction or you could say when the dog is changing their lead leg. So from 1 to 2, the dog's on their right lead. And as they're approaching 3, they're going to have to switch to their left lead because they're turning left here to get to the A-frame. So any point that your dog is changing directions or changing their lead leg, you may need a handling maneuver. I can't even talk. It may not necessarily mean that you change sides from your dog, but they probably will need some kind of handling so that they know that they are changing direction. So think about all of those places. So number 3 is probably the first one where you're going to need some information that your dog is turning, right? And he's actually going to change the side because your dog is going to be on your left. And then as they approach the A-frame in number 5 and 6, they're going to be on your right. So I'm not going to talk about all the different handling options looking at the map because I think that's boring and it's going to be different for every dog. But I just wanted you to think about these things because this is what I do before I ran this course. This is all the stuff that I went into my head. And as I'm walking the course, I'm also thinking about these things. One thing I do want to point out while we're still looking at the map is up there at number 9 at the top of the map. So it looks like it's an angle. And actually that angle potentially is a little bit easier than the way it ended up being set. The way it was set, number 9 here, was more flat. Um, and so this, I don't know. I don't know if that would make it easier or harder, honestly, but this is where we made one of our boo-boos. So I just wanted to point that out, that sometimes the map is not exactly what you have out on the course, just because they happen to set it differently. And then sometimes the judge will change things because something possibly looked dangerous. So it might be slightly different, but it's still worth obviously looking at the map. Okay, oops, I don't want to close that. Hang on, because I need to erase all how did I do that before? Just delete. Yes, clear all drawings. Okay, because otherwise those drawings will stay on the video. Okay, so if you want to, you can pause and look at this map, but I'm going to assume that everybody has done that, and I'm just going to kind of continue on. So I've got the 2 views that we're just going to watch all the way through. And as you're watching it, I want you to think about, did I make the best path for the dog? Where were the mistakes made? If something was not a fault, was it maybe still not a great idea? Did it not go well? And what worked well? So just to make sure everyone's on the same page, the types of faults are a dropped bar, a refusal, and I'm not going to go over and describe exactly what refusals are. I'm going to assume if you're watching this video, you probably already know what a refusal is. Obviously, the not hitting the contact and a wrong course. I think I got them all. So those are the things to be thinking about. We're just going to hit the play button and let her rip. Oh, this was really embarrassing at the beginning too, because she was super hyped up by the dog that had just left the ring. All right, now we're going to watch from the other angle.
Nice. Nice. Oh, good try.
Gotta love the commentary. Thanks, Kristen. Took this video for me. I think I actually like this angle better. I think when we get to our in-depth review, I'm going to use this angle.
Nice. Wow. Nice blind. Court and run. Nice. Good job. Good finish.
Okay. So that's the video. That's the run. Okay, so now we're going to analyze it, and I'm going to use this version because I think you can see what's going on maybe a little bit better in this particular view. So, and if you want to pause at any time and like look at anything, that's fine too. Maybe you want to watch that part again and see if you see the same mistakes that I see as I analyze this. And mistake number one is about to come up, and I am going to reduce the speed. I'm going to turn that volume down a little bit. Okay, so here's mistake number one. Anyone figure out what it was? It was not a fault. But if you look at, and I'm going to see if I can play this back a little bit frame by frame. I send her to jump one and look where my chest and feet are pointed, right at the weave poles, and she goes wide. She really thinks at this point she probably is going to the weave poles where she is right now and where I'm showing the screen. Look at my body language. It says weave poles. It's screaming weave poles. And when I saw this, I'm like, shoot, I had to call her off. So that's why she went super wide and she almost missed that tire jump. All right, mistake number two is happening. All right, look right here. Look where her head is. She is looking to her left and the jump is to her right. So that's not good. Let me back it up a smidge. So look what I'm doing. I'm giving her a little bit of collection here, so that she doesn't just fly as she's landing from that tire, but I continue to give her collection. See how my two arms are down? That's giving her collection and pulling her in towards me. And so it makes her bobble a little bit, but then she figures it out and she gets over that jump. What I should have done here is opened up my right shoulder and arm and done this as a throttle, which my verbal is in. I don't know why I didn't do that. Pressure's kind of high at these events. Sometimes the brain just goes right out the window. But we were able to save it. So she took the correct side of the jump. But now look at the angle. I wanted her to slice that jump. Like right where she is now. Let me see if she's right here. Look at that angle. I would like her to see. Let me use my little annotation thing again. That'll be fun. I would have preferred she came in here and sliced this jump, right? That's what I would have liked her to do. But instead, she's taking the jump more like this. So when she takes the jump more straight on and I'm back here, she is much more likely to want to wrap back this way instead of slice. Because if she takes the jump more from this direction, she's more likely going to land this way, which is how I want her to go. I run the risk of her going this way. But, but she saved my butt. Literally. Oh, let me see if I can. Oops. Hold on. I'm not using this little tool. Okay, I got to close this tool out before I can press play. So she saves my butt and goes the right direction. Now we're doing pretty good. She reads my backside. All right, here comes up to the big moment. She goes to the other tunnel. I just want to say here, tunnel to tunnel, a lot of dogs pulled off out of this red tunnel and came to the handler. Some took this jump right here, and did not take the blue tunnel. And the reason for that is if you're behind, especially when a dog is going into the tunnel, they're very likely to come out looking for you. And they're going to be hard on that lead right now, the right lead, to come out and pull towards you and look for you. So to get them to stay out and go to that next tunnel is part verbal. I'm yelling, go, tunnel, go. But I also have my arm out. In general, if I want my dog to stay away from me laterally, I would use my dog side arm, but I'm using my opposite arm and it's up really high because the higher my arm is, the farther out the dog should go. And it's also making my chest point in the direction I want her to go because dogs are going to follow primarily the direction that your chest is going. So that's why I am screaming like a banshee and have my right arm up. And she's supposed to take the back side of that jump, just so you remember.
Hi.
And you can see what happens. She takes the front side. All right. So let's just look at this. My arm is up. My arm is up. She's coming out of the tunnel. But look at my arm start to come down. And look how my left arm now looks out like a throttle. So my body language pretty much said, hey, come on to the inside of this jump, not the backside. So this was 100% my fault. Although we are going to watch this from a different, the other angle, because I think this is the one moment where the other video makes it a little bit more clear what actually happened. Because even though I'm saying this is like 100% my fault, you'll see when we watch the other angle that I had the deck stacked against me. I'll still take the blame for it, but I think the deck was stacked against me regardless. So she takes the inside.
Oh, good
I fix it.
job.
So this is an E. That's considered a wrong course because she didn't take all the obstacles in the correct order. This is basically like taking a wrong obstacle, even because she took it the wrong direction. So I just got eliminated. There's no way we're going to have a clean run now, but that's okay. Okay, here's where my other bobble happens. Nobody wants to see their dog spinning like that. So let's look at why she spun. And actually, this is going to be a good view from the other camera angle as well. So I'm running, and I see how I start to use my outside hand as like a go on command. I should be, and look, I sent her way out into the middle of nowhere. Look where she's looking. There's nothing out there. Um, and she is confused because I am using the wrong arm. And I'm also, look how I'm leaning back. Just look at that. I am giving her no information that she needs. I should be driving forward and using my left hand for a flick, or I'm going to flick her away. It's something I call zip zip, and it means she's going to flick away from my dog side hand and take the back side of a jump. But instead, I am doing this, which I think is hilarious. But then she looks at me and now I'm yelling out, out, out. And she's like, oh, you mean that one? And there she goes. And technically, that's not a refusal. Probably. I mean, he's not the judge. Here's the judge. He's not going to call anything after I have E'd. But I think because this spinning, it happened way back here and not in the last 1/3 of this space between the obstacles. I doubt that would have been a refusal. It could have been, depends on the judge. The judges at this event were calling everything. They were not giving an inch, I think, because they wanted to be really fair amongst all the competitors. This was a pretty big event. So there she goes. And now we look pretty good for a while. That looks great, right? It looks like we got our contact, didn't we? But let's review that performance. Just because we didn't get a fault there doesn't mean we shouldn't look at it. So let's wind back. Do, 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 do. And let's see. Oops. Let me see if I can get this just right here. Oh, shoot. Let's see if I can go back. Anyway, I cannot finesse the mouse. Hey, there we go. It's blurry. But look at where those back paws are. You can see her paws are white, so you can see them. They are barely in the yellow. That's not a fault, but that's not the performance that I want. So this tells me I should be working on my contacts. And this is something I already know. That's the whole contact thing is probably another whole video, what I've done to my beautiful contacts I used to have, but we'll save that for another time. So not a fault, but something to think about. Here we go. Tunnel. All right, so here's an example of where Star is going to do a lead change, but I am not changing what side she is on me. She's going to stay on my left. And I want you to see where she's looking as she's coming out of the tunnel. She's, of course, going to look for me on her right side because that's where she last saw me, was on the right. So she comes out looking for me, still looking at me. She has no idea where she's going right now, but I'm using, it's kind of, I guess I'd call that a lap turn if I'm going to be, I don't know, have to call that something particular. Um, Sending her away. So you can see she does turn and look at me. Whoops. Do, 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 do. I'm just going to let it play because it is in slower mo. There. Now she looks. Good. So that was a lead change into the weave poles. do my blind
No.
cross.
Wow. Nice blind.
And here, I think this is not perfect either. Let's analyze this because it went pretty smooth there until she's taking this broad jump. So she's going to take the broad jump coming towards me. Look at the angle that she's approaching it. She's going to land towards the left side of that broad jump. She's not going to land going out straight, right? Just because of the angle that she's approaching it. I'm also on her left. So she comes off of that pretty much to the left, right? So she may not get that backside. Look at her. This is kind of, I think you'll see this from the other angle, but this, I feel like this was a little bobbly. Like this was not like a solid, she knows absolutely where she's going to this backside. I think she was a little bit bobbly. But right where I am now, where I've got it paused, I am starting to converge on her line. I'm screaming, get back, get back. I wish my hand was lower. I should not have my hand this high. But she did get the backside. See how she wobbled a little? Like I had to push her back out. And then we're going to kind of see the same thing as she comes out of this tunnel. She's like thinking about drifting in here. And she's not thinking about this teeter-totter at all because that's the next obstacle. But here I am screaming like a banshee, converging on her line, and she turns away and gets on the teeter. Pretty decent teeter performance. And we're at the end.
Good job.
Okay, so I want to just go over those 2 points with the other angle. So let's fast forward. This video doesn't take forever. Okay. So this is where I was taking 100% of the blame for it, right? But I want you to notice, I don't know how to zoom in, to be honest with you, but, and she's a little bit blurry when I slow this down, but she is already looking at the front side of this jump. And now that I look at this video, I do think the jump is angled somewhat like it was in the map, but not angled as much. I guess it's not totally flat. I'm gonna have to take that back. But it is angled a little bit and it kind of sets the dog up to look at the front side. And she's already looking at the front side. Look, she's still looking at the front side. Still looking at the front side. And I start to drop this arm, my right arm. Oh, so I think that this is a skill that we need to practice. So, yeah, she was looking at that from the very beginning. Let's look at that again. Let's just leave the slow-mo go. She's going in the tunnel. Look at her. She comes out. She's got no question in her mind. That is the front side. She didn't need me. She knew where she was going. Am I still going to take blame for that mistake? Probably, because that's a training issue. So my handling wasn't cutting it. If I worked more on verbals, perhaps she's coming out on a hard right lead because she's been on the right lead for those 2 tunnels. I'm on her right and I'm behind her. So I either needed to be faster to converge on her line more. Maybe I could have come up here more instead of hugging these jumps back here. Maybe I could have been up here farther so I could converge on her line better to get her out there. So yeah, we need training on that, maybe to work on the verbals and then my handling as well. Because think about things. So let's go back to this options all the way here. How could I have gotten ahead here? I think if look how far behind I am for this. I saw some other handlers that were already on the back side of this jump right here where my mouse is, and they did it in. They treated this as a throttle. So if I was here when Star is where she is now, I would have probably been able to get up the field a bit easier. And I did see other handlers doing that. So unless I have a really independent backside verbal when I'm way behind and I've got this scenario, I need to make choices. What that's 4 obstacles before this one is where I really lost the opportunity to support this potentially, or I had to run really fast. So those are things to think about too. Is my mistake happened here, but what could I have done differently? Maybe several obstacles back so that I could have been here to support this. knowing that perhaps this wasn't going to be some independent verbal skill. So I should have been thinking about this. And actually, I thought about this. I knew this would be my weak spot, walking it before I went in. Um, and there it was. So there you have it. And then the other angle I wanted to show you was the next thing right after this, because I think you can see really well from this angle, the boo-boo here, and actually before the teeter. So right here, she's knows that's the obstacle, right? Look at me, giving her no information. I start to tell her to go out, right? So that makes her look to the left. So in hindsight, maybe that's not the worst thing to give her, but when I'm behind, um, but as you can see, she thinks about it, but then look at how I decel and look how far I'm leaning back. This is what made her stop. She was going. She was going. Like, look at this. She's looking to her left. She's going, right? And right, you see that? I made her, I pulled her right off, man. I pulled her right off. We're going, we're going. Look how I'm already leaning back on my left leg, right? She's looking at that jump. And look at me. I pulled her right off. I made her spin. Yep. So I should have been driving forward, and I was probably saying zip zip already, would be my guess. And this is a little bit behind this jump, right? So I did not support this one nearly enough. Um, I think this probably, if it may not have been a refusal. So if you don't know, a refusal starts the refusal zone. If you take the distance between these two obstacles and chop it up into thirds, only the last third towards this obstacle she's going to is where a refusal could happen. If the dog spins or bypasses the plane of the jump, that would be refusal. And since she spun kind of over here where my mouse is, I feel like that wouldn't have been a refusal, but that wastes a ton of time. And when the difference between first place and even like 10th place is like fractions of seconds, mistakes like that will put you right out of the top game, right automatically. Even if the rest was clean, we would have possibly not scored very high in the ranking. So things to think about. So let me fast forward because I want to show you the teeter. I don't want this video to be like crazy long. Okay, so here's another thing to think about. She's coming out of that teeter, out of the tunnel, and look at how she's looking at me. And so she's kind of headed, if you follow my mouse, towards maybe more towards this jump. And she's not really looking at or thinking about this teeter until you see me converge on her line and yell out teeter, and she gets it. So not a fault either, but this is a potential moment where things could have gone wrong. And so these are things that are important to also analyze. So when you analyze your video, don't just think about what got me the NQ or what got me the E. You have to look at all the little bits because, I saved it. Here, I'm going to pause it. I saved it in a number of times, but it was a little bobbly, right? Like it wasn't as smooth, like the dog knows where she's going on every single obstacle and is driving towards it with confidence, right? Like she was on a good chunk of the course, but there were spots where she didn't do that. So let's count those spots. Here's going to be one right here. This is one little bobble. It didn't NQ me, but these are important things. Here's the second one. All right, we're going. This is smooth, but again, like we talked about, this set me up to be way too far behind.
Nice.
And right after my friend says nice, whoops, there's my third. I'm going to call that mistake, right? Because my little bobbles are not really what I want to have happen. That's number 3. This is number 4. I should have sped this up to normal speed. We're watching it slow. That's right. It's almost over. I'm going to call this number 5 because I don't like that performance on the dog walk. This was pretty smooth. She looks at me, but then she instantly sees where I'm sending her. I'm not going to call that a bobble. And coming up after this broad jump, I think this is pretty minor, but I'm still calling it a bobble. I'm going to say that's number 6. To me, it's just not, it's not smooth enough. So I feel like it wasn't clear enough to her. And then I'm going to call this to the teeter is going to be another little bobble. So that's 7. That is 7 things that I should have done differently. Only one of those mistakes cost me a clean run. But all of those other things are things that are super important to think about and know that this happened on the course, right? So those are the things that I need to practice. So my takeaway from this, just this one particular run, is that I need to work on my own confidence in driving forward with her. Maybe run a little faster. I need to work on the contacts. I need to work on maybe some independent backside um, things. And the other thing I really need to think about with that backside that got us the E, I need to think about my handling choices when I'm walking the course because I really think how I handled that jump before those 2 tunnels really is what made me not be able to get that backside coming out of the tunnel to that number 9 that was the backside that we eat on. I think that was the reason I should have made a different handling choice back then, and I might have had a chance to get the backside on that jump and not have an E. So that's my analysis of my own run.
Over. Yeah. Nice. Over. Tunnel. Over. Whoops, we had a drop bar back here. Over. Over. Tunnel. Over. Over. Yes. Go. Good girl. Over. 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 Tunnel. Get back. Get back. Get back. Get back. Yahoo! Good job. Alright, when I filmed that the first time and I said get back, she took the front side. I wish I had videoed that. But I like to see her correct course when she hears the verbal. That's why I'm doing so many of letting her take the front side so she doesn't know when she's taking the back side. And I'm also doing more of the front side, kind of conditioning her to expect that's where we're going. So when she suddenly hears the back side command, she'll think about that hopefully and not be patterned. Yeah, just a couple more times. You look tired, friend. Ready?